Canada stands on the precipice of a pivotal federal election, a moment that will define the nation's trajectory for years to come. On April 28, 2025, Canadians will cast their votes, shaping the future of their nation and its relationship with the United States. This election is not just about choosing a leader, it's about deciding the direction in which Canada will move forward. The outcome of this election carries significant weight, particularly in the realm of trade, as it will determine Canada's approach to its powerful southern neighbor. Trade policies, tariffs, and economic agreements hang in the balance, awaiting the decision of the Canadian electorate. With the specter of Donald Trump's recent pronouncements looming large, the stakes have never been higher. His influence on American politics continues to reverberate across the border, adding another layer of complexity to the choices facing Canadian voters. The Canadian electorate faces a stark choice: to embrace a path of closer economic alignment with the United States, or to chart a more independent course. This decision will impact everything from trade agreements to immigration policies and even environmental regulations. The incumbent Liberal Party, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, has championed the latter, advocating for strengthened internal trade and reduced reliance on the U.S. market. Carney's vision includes bolstering Canadian industries and fostering innovation within the country. This vision, however, has been met with skepticism from some quarters, who argue that Canada's economic prosperity is inextricably linked to its relationship with the United States. Critics warn that distancing from the U.S. could lead to economic instability and job losses. The opposition Conservative Party, led by Pierre Poilievre, has seized upon these concerns, positioning itself as the party of economic pragmatism. Poilievre argues that maintaining strong ties with the U.S. is essential for Canada's economic health and global standing. The Conservatives argue that Canada cannot afford to alienate its largest trading partner, and have pledged to repair the frayed relationship with the United States should they win power. They promise to negotiate better trade deals and ensure that Canadian businesses thrive. As the campaign enters its final days, the debate over Canada's economic future has taken center stage, with both parties vying for the support of a nation grappling with its place in a rapidly changing world. The discussions are intense, and the stakes are incredibly high. The outcome of this election will have profound implications not only for Canada, but also for the United States. The world is watching closely, aware that the results could shift the balance of power and influence in North America. A victory for the Liberals would signal a continued commitment to a more independent Canada, potentially leading to a more assertive stance in trade negotiations with the United States. This could mean new opportunities for Canadian businesses to expand and innovate. Conversely, a Conservative victory could pave the way for a thaw in relations, as the new government seeks to mend fences and restore economic ties. This approach aims to ensure stability and growth through a closer partnership with the U.S. As the world watches, Canada prepares to make a choice that will shape its destiny for years to come. The decision made on April 28 will echo through history, defining the nation's path and its role on the global stage. Donald Trump's recent pronouncements on Canada's economic dependence on the United States have sent shockwaves through the Canadian political landscape. His comments have not only stirred political debates, but have also sparked discussions among everyday Canadians about the future of their country's economic policies and international relations. In a series of incendiary remarks, Trump declared that Canada would cease to exist without the United States, citing the country's reliance on American consumers for its exports. These statements have been met with a mix of outrage and disbelief, as many Canadians pride themselves on their nation's resilience and independence. He further asserted that the United States had no need for Canadian imports, dismissing the importance of Canadian cars, energy, and lumber to the American economy. This dismissal has raised concerns among Canadian industries that rely heavily on trade with the U.S., prompting calls for a reevaluation of trade strategies and partnerships. Trump's comments, delivered with his trademark bluster and bravado, were widely seen as an attempt to influence the outcome of the upcoming Canadian election. By making such bold statements, he aimed to sway public opinion and create a sense of urgency among Canadian voters. By painting a picture of Canada as a nation beholden to the United States, Trump sought to undermine support for the incumbent Liberal Party and their vision of a more independent Canada. This strategy, however, has been met with resistance from those who believe in Canada's sovereignty and its ability to thrive without undue influence from its southern neighbor. His words, however, may have had the opposite effect, galvanizing Canadian public opinion against him and bolstering support for Prime Minister Carney. The Canadian public's reaction has been one of solidarity, with many rallying behind their leaders and calling for a united front in the face of external pressure. Trump's tactics, while jarring to some, are not entirely unexpected. His approach to international relations has always been characterized by a mix of unpredictability and assertiveness, often leaving other nations scrambling to respond. Throughout his presidency, he has consistently employed a combination of threats, insults, and economic pressure to extract concessions from trading partners. This method, though controversial, has been a hallmark of his administration's foreign policy. From China to Mexico to the European Union, Trump has shown a willingness to upend long-standing trade relationships in pursuit of what he perceives to be America's best interests. His actions have often led to tense negotiations, and in some cases, significant shifts in global trade dynamics. Canada, long considered a close ally and reliable trading partner, has not been immune to Trump's aggressive approach. The long-standing friendship between the two nations has been tested repeatedly, with each new policy or statement adding to the strain. His imposition of tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum in 2018, citing national security concerns, sent shockwaves through the Canadian economy and strained relations between the two countries. The tariffs not only affected the industries directly involved, but also had a ripple effect on related sectors and the broader economy. While the tariffs were eventually lifted, the damage had been done, leaving a lingering sense of uncertainty and mistrust in their wake. The episode served as a stark reminder of the volatility that can arise in international trade relations, especially when driven by unpredictable political agendas. In the face of Donald Trump's provocative statements and aggressive trade tactics, the international community has often found itself on edge. His unpredictable approach to diplomacy and trade has left many countries scrambling to protect their own interests. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has responded with a message of resilience and self-reliance. He has made it clear that Canada will not be intimidated or coerced into unfavorable agreements. Rather than caving to Trump's demands or engaging in a war of words, Carney has doubled down on his government's commitment to strengthening Canada's internal economy and reducing its dependence on the United States. This strategy is not just about economic survival, it's about thriving in a new global landscape. Central to Carney's vision is the ambitious goal of eliminating all interprovincial trade barriers within Canada by July 1, 2025. This initiative aims to create a more cohesive and efficient national market. This bold initiative, if successful, would create a truly free and open market within Canada, allowing goods, services, and labor to flow seamlessly across provincial borders. It would be a game changer for Canadian businesses and consumers alike. By removing these barriers, Carney argues, Canada can unlock its full economic potential, creating jobs, boosting innovation, and fostering a more dynamic and competitive economy. This would not only make the country more competitive on the global stage, but also ensure that Canadian businesses can thrive without being overly reliant on any single foreign market. Carney's emphasis on internal free trade is not merely an economic strategy, it is also a shrewd political maneuver. By focusing on national unity and economic independence, he is tapping into a deep well of Canadian pride and resilience. By highlighting the potential benefits of a more integrated Canadian economy, Carney is able to appeal to both nationalist sentiment and economic anxieties. He is presenting a vision of a stronger, more self-sufficient Canada. He is essentially offering Canadians a way to have their cake and eat it too, to stand up to Trump's bullying while also securing their economic future. This dual approach has resonated with many Canadians who are eager for a path forward that doesn't involve capitulation or conflict. The success of Carney's plan, however, is far from guaranteed. The path to eliminating interprovincial trade barriers is fraught with challenges and requires careful navigation. Eliminating interprovincial trade barriers is a complex and politically fraught undertaking, requiring the cooperation of all 10 provinces and 3 territories. Each region has its own unique economic interests and political dynamics. Some provinces, wary of ceding control over their own economies, have expressed reservations about the plan, fearing that it might undermine their local industries or lead to unwanted competition. While others have demanded concessions in exchange for their support, navigating these political waters will require deft negotiation and a willingness to find common ground. Carney's vision is bold, but its realization will depend on his ability to unite the country behind this ambitious goal. Donald Trump's recent pronouncements on Canada's economic dependence on the United States have had a profound impact on Canadian public opinion, igniting a wave of nationalism and resentment towards the American president. Trump's dismissive and often insulting rhetoric has struck a nerve with Canadians, who pride themselves on their country's independence, sovereignty, and distinct national identity. The timing of Trump's comments, just days ahead of a closely contested federal election, has only served to amplify their impact. Canadians are now heading to the polls with Trump's words ringing in their ears, forced to confront the question of their country's place in the world and its relationship with its powerful southern neighbor. For many Canadians, Trump's words have been a wake-up call, exposing the vulnerabilities of a country that has long relied on the United States for its economic prosperity and security. The realization that their country is not immune to the whims of an unpredictable and often hostile American president has led to a surge in support for politicians who promise to stand up to Trump and chart a more independent course for Canada. This newfound sense of nationalism has manifested itself in a variety of ways, from a surge in sales of Canadian flags and maple syrup to a renewed interest in Canadian history and culture. Canadians are increasingly embracing their own identity, celebrating their differences from their American neighbors, and asserting their right to determine their own destiny.